A fantastic women's match on AEW Dynamite. The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh, nigh. But I tell you what, in my humble opinion, I thought last night's AEW Dynamite was a little bit on the meh side of the scales. But the mehness of last night's show, it didn't really register as much as it might have on another night, just simply down to the fact of the amount of stuff that went down on last night's show, culminating in a massive WTF moment. I cannot wait to talk about it some more. Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, if you've got some spare time this week and you're watching this video having not seen last night's Dynamite, go out of your way to watch that match. It was absolutely fantastic stuff. That's the fantastic match that kicks off these WTF moments, because I don't think we've seen one before, have we, on Dynamite? A fantastic women's match on that level. But on top of that, we now have Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, a different women's feud. And then next week, we've got Anna Jay versus Shida for the AEW Women's Championship, and lots more focus appears to be being put on the ladies. And that's weird to say, isn't it? Going off the history of AEW so far. Hey, what do I know? But I'm Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic Wrestling. This is a Movember attempt and not a fashion statement. Stop your comments. I'm raising money for a good cause. And these are all your WTF moments from last night's AEW Dynamite intro. Man, do the honours, will you? And via Jim Ross, we learned the Top Flight were trained by Ken Anderson. And I can't have been the only person thinking this has got to be a WTF moment, so it does, because we were really feeling the influence of Ken Anderson in everything Top Flight were doing during that fantastic flippity-doo opening match last night, weren't we? I was watching them doing all these bloody things that were sending me round the bloody twist, and I was thinking to myself, hey, it's just like Ken used to do them all. It's like Ken Anderson himself has died and he's been reincarnated as a young and up-and-coming tag team on the professional wrestling scene. But they are bloody fantastic, aren't they? What a debut, what a match. Unbelievable scenes.
It's Jim Ross, bitch. Bah, Gouda, did it again.
Oh, hard clothesline there, Jim Ross said when that thing there was happening. I don't know what you're saying. Yes, I know the ring is a very long way away from where the commentators are sat inside Daly's place, but in a similar vein, the neck is a very long way away from the abdomen where that move was hit. Yes, Jim, that was not a clothesline. It was a devastating spear, courtesy of Matthew James Cuthbert Jackson. Anyone else just wish they'd shag already? Look at them, man. The sexual tension week on week on week is too much to bear. Just whap your pants down and get it over with, lads, for goodness sake, for the benefit of everybody watching, not just yourselves. Now, as we saw during Le Dîner de Debonair, however the bloody hell that's pronounced, by the way, when we see Chris Jericho and MJF in situations like this one here, they are trying to one-up each other. They were doing that with drinks last night, and MJF kicked us off in devastating fashion by asking for a slippery nipple. Oh, they're fantastic. And then Chris Jericho came back to MJF going, no, we're not having any slippery nipples, MJF. I'm going to up the stakes, apparently, and ask for some peppermint schnapps. As if peppermint schnapps are more devastating than a slippery nipple. Now, I've got no idea if a slippery nipple is different over in Las Vegas, but let me tell you, as a man who went to university in the northeast of England and went out on many student discount nights and had discounted prices applied to many slippery nipples, a slippery nipple in the northeast of England, it sees some Samuel Booker, some Samuel James Booker, some Sam Booker put in a shot glass, and then Bailey's put in there with a teaspoon, drizzled on top, so the two are on separate layers. You knock that back in one and your night is a bloody mess. I used to get them at uni all the time, and that's probably why I'm stood here doing what I'm doing today, having achieved a 2-1 in sports journalism. Bloody hell. No regrets though. And then the lads hotboxed a limo with K-Dog himself, Mr. Conan of WCW and other wrestling promotions fame. The bunch of filthy animals. And then we have a direct quote from AEW World Champion himself, Mr. Jon Moxley, when he says, the whole world is bearing down on me. My body feels like hell. I can't even get out of bed in the morning. I've got a pregnant wife at home.
What'd she say? Say?
That's right, Renee. When Jon Moxley initially said that, I cannot have been the only person to think to myself, bloody hell, does Renee know? And then it registered. He's actually talking about Renee. Renee is the pregnant wife at home. It took me way too long to put those pieces together. But bloody congratulations to Jon Moxley and to Renee Young on the upcoming arrival of their little babby child. Over the moon for them, genuinely. But in that moment, we did of course learn that all three Shield members have gone from being daddies. That took on new meaning with this mustache, didn't it? They went from being daddies to dads. But we've got to mention it on these AEW related WTF moments from last night's show. The moment where Renee Young revealed on Twitter how she let Bayley know how she was pregnant because somehow, some way, Renee Young texted Bayley with some pregnancy related information when she meant of course to send that to Daddy Jon Moxley. Which begs the question of course, what is Jon and or Bayley saved as in Renee's phone so they're next to each other in the alphabet presumably? That's why Renee sent the text to the wrong person. If you have any idea what they might be called in their phone, let me know down there, will you? And then we have Big Dick Tony Schiavone himself showing all kinds of Big Dick Tony Schiavone energy when he announced Kenny Omega as the Cleaner. Officially, the Cleaner, Kenny Omega. Words from Tony Schiavone there. And of course, I only make this a WTF moment because in the not too distant past, we saw the old Kenny Omega, not the Cleaner Kenny Omega, the dirtier Kenny Omega, the scruffy bathroom floor Kenny Omega, the soiled toilet bowl Kenny Omega. He appeared on Dynamite in the not too distant past and he said the following quote: "Where's the Cleaner? Where's the best bout machine? Where's that Kenny Omega that we saw in New Japan?" And it would appear to be a huge scope from Tony Schiavone himself, who appeared to have found out before the rest of the world that the Cleaner had indeed been found once again. And then we learned that during the Inner Circle's trip to Las Vegas that Sammy Guevara himself, he got himself 3 wives. But the WTF moment here, the real WTF moment, is the fact that one of them looks a hell of a lot like Haley Cropper. Not that there's anything wrong with Haley Cropper, of course. It's just fun to say Haley Cropper on these AEWTF moments videos. How are those two related in any sort of world? I don't know. I just talk bollocks here, don't I? Ortiz does cocaine. Confirmed. And you might be saying, Ross, that's a scandalous accusation to be throwing in any professional athlete's direction. But let me just ask you the question. How else has he stood there doing weights like he was, sweating like he was, just going radio rental like he was after a big night on the town with the Inner Circle in Las Vegas? How else is that possible? And of course, our thoughts and prayers must now go out to Ortiz, who after that shot there was taken, of course, must have had one hell of a come down. Such a big come down. He couldn't possibly have been feeling proud nor powerful. More like regretful and timid like Mouse. And that's Hornswoggle there in a nappy crying like a baby. And you might be thinking that visual and the audio of Hornswoggle crying like a baby, that's a WTF moment enough, all on its lonesome, but it's not. There's a bigger WTF moment here at play. And that's because before that segment was played on last night's Dynamite, we heard Jim Ross saying this is the conclusion of the Inner Circle's trip to Las Vegas. But I'm of course asking, how the hell can that be the conclusion when we do not know who the baby daddy is? Who in the Inner Circle is the baby daddy of Hornswoggle? It's the biggest question in professional wrestling today. And I cannot have been the only person wondering what the hell is that and why the hell is it moving all by itself? Yes, it might be the Blade's mask, and yes, it might be moving because of the wind, but that's not the point. Ghosts are real. And now I've got a PSA for one Eddie Kingston, a man who of course has frequented up and around these parts in Newcastle upon Tyne, England. What do we eat up here? Do we have the Oreos? Do we not have the Oreos? Those are the questions he was asking on last night's Dynamite. Well, let me tell you, Eddie Kingston, bunny lad, we do have all the Oreos up here in Newcastle upon Tyne. Us little honey badgers here, we even eat the bastard birthday cake ones, and we'll eat your nose too if you're not bloody careful. That's a good pack impression. So then we hear Tony Schiavone plug in AEW heels, and of course, naturally,
It's Jim Ross, bitch. Bah, Gouda did it again.
Jim Ross, he had to ask if they do bake sales. And to make things worse, when somebody pointed out this bollocks to Jim Ross on the Twitter machine, we got the old lighting up routine, didn't we? Let me tell you, Jim Ross, old-fashioned women be cooking jokes, they are not hard to get. People were upset because they firmly got what you were saying there, and it's a load of bollocks, pal. Catch up with the rest of us, man.
It's Jim Ross, bitch. Bah, Gouda did it again.
And then we have a direct quote from Jim Ross once again, this time when he says, Thunder Rosa, she didn't deserve to be assaulted in the middle of a title match for the World Championship. And I cannot have been the only person thinking once again, dear viewer. The World Championship on AEW Dynamite. Surely the NWA Women's World Championship, that is a Women's World Championship, not the. Of course, the Women's World title in AEW is held by Shida, believe it or not. But to be honest with you, you simply can't blame Jim Ross for making this apparent mistake due to the fact how Shida's been booked. Or not booked. She wasn't there last night. What the hell are they doing? And there's our Darby, setting his own leg on fire in his spare time. What's he like, eh? And then we end these WTF moments from last night's Dynamite with the biggest WTF moment of the night as wholesome Willie Hobbs himself. He turned into a dick by twatting Cody Rhodes upside the head with the FTW World title, joining Team Taz in the process as I try not to burp. I think I made it. And of course, with this show being called WTF Moments, and with that one being a mahoosive one, I think that's all I've got to say. What else do you say about that? Team Taz is now massive. Analysis. But also, and lots of people have pointed this out on the social media machines, that's why Willie Hobbs was always so late to come to the save. Ever noticed that? He always rocked up too late, didn't he? And it all makes sense. Unless, of course, that was just an honest mistake turned into a storyline plot point. Well done either way. But after Sammy hoofing Cody Rhodes right in the nads on the first ever Dynamite, after MJF of course turning on Cody Rhodes, and now after big Willie Hobbs himself, the wholesome Willie Hobbs, who had the world at his feet before he stomped on it and said, "Up yours, world, ha-ha!" We've got to ask a massive question, haven't we? Is Cody Rhodes actually the biggest arsehole in professional wrestling? That's 3 big turns that have happened to Cody Rhodes now in just over a year of AEW Dynamite history. I'm starting to think he might be a dick and not a guy everybody loves. But that's it for your WTF moments from this week's Dynamite. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic Wrestling. Thank you for watching this bollocks once again, and I'll see you very soon indeed.